This is a bearded dragon, and this is a Lego bearded dragon. And today, I'm designing builds for every kind of animal, from small water creatures to huge land animals. Let the challenge begin. Of course, I can't make every single creature in the animal kingdom, so what I mean by kind is like mammals, reptiles, and birds. But for level 1, we'll start with the simplest animal of all time, the sponge. We'll be recreating one of these real-life sponges, and not that kind. So, to make the natural cone shape, I used this round plate with bars around it to attach these angled plates that fit perfectly together. And in the middle, I took minifigure capes and stacked them to simulate the folded layers of the sponge. Can you believe you can actually call this an animal? And since it's a sponge, let's see if it actually works to soak up this puddle. Nice, it does. But I don't have any room for it on my shelf, so I got this fish tank to hold it and the rest of the water critters. Like the next animal on the list, the jellyfish. For this build, we need a big dome, so I stole one off my sister's Lego set and connected 4 of them to a center disc. Then I added these long bars to make a rim, used these sonic ring pieces for the horseshoe-shaped things that jellyfish have, these energy effect pieces for the oral arms, and a ton of string pieces for the tentacles I attached with clips. And that's a jellyfish. As well as being a great hat, it's also my new favorite fidget toy. It looks really nice in the water. Next, we need to make a build for starfish and their cousins. So I built this spiky urchin by making this round base with snot bricks and bar pieces where I'll attach tons of these pointed plant stems to give it lots of spikes, and it looks super painful to touch, which is why I need to test how painful it is to step on for science. I can't imagine how painful the real urchin is to step on. It's finally time for fish, just like this Lego shark set I got, just in case you forgot what a fish looks like. But for our build, I'm moving to fresh water and making a koi fish like the ones you'd find in a pond. For this design, I wanted to make it floppy just like a real fish. But it's really difficult to make hard Lego bricks bend. So instead of regular bricks, I use nets and round tiles to create this bendable fish skin with scales, which I'll then attach to this big head that I gave these little whiskers. But it's not a fish without all its fins, so I made its pectoral fins using clear tiles, its dorsal fins using a bunch of clips and slopes, and my favorite, the tail using tons of these round plates to give it a wavy pattern. And that's our fish. Let me know what you think about the skin effect. I think it's super satisfying. It's just so wiggly. Oh, whoops. Now let's see if it'll swim. No, it just died. Also, fish like to eat worms, so for our next animal, I made an earthworm out of this bendy tube and 4 other pieces. Then, just in case I got called out for not including them, I made a turbolarian for flatworms with these cute little eyes and oracles. And finally, a roundworm using literally just 1 piece. It doesn't get easier than that. Next on the list are amphibians, which are animals like frogs or this axolotl Lego set. But I think I can do even better than this. So I'll start with its head and use curved pieces and bars to create connection points for its eyes and gills. Then I'll make the body with these little legs, a tail, and this totally legal technique for the fin. But I didn't want it to be lonely, so I had to make another, right? This one uses black and green pieces instead, and together they look pretty familiar. Comment which one you think is the cutest. Now it's time for mollusks, which are all the slimy and squishy animals that have shells, like these Lego snails. But we'll be making a giant octopus. I first made these wiggly tentacles using Technic connections and place them on an 8-sided base, where I can then attach this big head I made using tons of curved slopes and sideways building techniques. I'm not gonna lie, this took me a whole day to make, but somebody told me it looks sort of like a tick or some kind of parasite. But hey, I did my best, okay? But of course, we gotta give it a wiggle test. Nice, that's pretty wiggly and sturdy. Oh. It also makes a great hat. And now that we've made all the squishy animals, I think it's about time we made something crunchy. And by that, I mean arthropods, which are all the creepy, crawly animals like spiders and crabs, or these life-size Lego insects. But I wanted to make my favorite animal of all time, the mantis shrimp, which is a huge shrimp strong enough to break glass with just its fists. I began by making a long, wiggly tail that I based off this Mario wiggler. Wow, there's so many wiggly animals in this video. I then added these legs called swimmerets that make a swimming motion, and a peacock-like tail at the back. I'm really happy with how sturdy and natural the bending motion turned out. Now for its head, I used these sparkly fishbowl pieces for the eyes, whips for the antennae, and I added this jumbled mess of maxillipeds in the middle, and these chunky arms for punching things. But the best part of this build is that I attached one arm to Technic beams and connected it to a button at the bottom to make it actually punch. And to test it, I set up different materials for it to punch through. Let's see if it works on this brick wall. Nice. Next, I wanted to test it on all these minifigures. finally, let's see if it can actually punch through glass. Yeah, definitely not. But for this on LEGO Ideas if you want it to be a real set. Okay, I didn't actually notice how many water animals I made, and the fish tank is looking pretty crowded. That means it's time to go from sea to air by making our next animal a bird, like this pink flamingo set. But for our build, I made an emperor penguin, which has posable flippers and head. But that's not the best part, because there's also a hidden feature inside. By using all these gears and Technic pieces, I made the feet move in a walking motion, and when cranked up, can hopefully walk by itself. It looks like I made him a little too chubby to move. Also known as, he's too heavy. So instead, I hooked up this LEGO motor to give it more power, which should hopefully, oh boy. So obviously I'm not an engineer, but what I am is someone who likes to play in the snow. So let's test if the penguin can actually sled down this hill. Nice, it does. Also, I just noticed it's also kind of a water animal. I promise that was not intentional. So it's finally time to make a true land animal, which is going to be a reptile like this dinosaur. And what is going to make this build so challenging is I need to recreate this real-life bearded dragon lizard I caught from my brother's terrarium. Do not try this at home, I am a trained professional. While he's distracted, I can now start recreating him. So first, I made his head using lots of complicated angles. These bowl pieces for the eyes, a road sign for the pointed face, and of course a few spikes at the back. I then made these arms using ball joints and claw pieces and attached them to the body using the same technique from the fish to give him a realistic scale texture. I'll finally add the back legs and tail, and wow, this looks super realistic. It actually feels like I'm holding the real one. I sadly had to chop down my DQ tree set for the pieces though, but it was worth it. But what does the real lizard think about it? He thinks you should vote for it on LEGO Ideas to be a real set. Let's just put him back in his cage before my brother notices he's gone. That means it's time for the final level, mammals. Everybody knows what a mammal is. And for this one, I didn't want to just make a plain build like this rhino set. Instead, I made this big elephant with lots of curved slopes for the body, round plates for the ears, and clips and angled plates for the posable trunk. I'm pretty happy with the overall shape of it. Although I did notice it looks kind of like a horse if you take off the head. I don't know, maybe it's too skinny? But what makes this build so special is that when we feed this pipe through the trunk, it can connect to a water pump and hopefully actually pour water. Nice. It's not as powerful as I hoped, but at least you could say this elephant's got drip. And that means we've successfully built every kind of animal, making this challenge complete. I hope I made my zoology teacher proud. Let me know what I should make next. Thanks for watching and subscribe for the next one.